You feel like One Battle is winning Best
Is
Picture, and
winning
in
Best
that
Picture,
case, it
and
makes
if Leo
sense.
won
Again,
BAFTA,
I don't fault
and
your logic because your logic is wrong from the top.
Michael B.
I'm
Jordan
not
would be no. we'll get to that, but no.
saying that the idea that a movie goes like we don't see it losing and then it loses is not ridiculous. Like we've seen it happen recently.
We've seen it happen. We've never seen it happen to a film as strong as One Battle. Why
Tied
didn't
to
it win
each
the
other.
PGA? That's my thing. Why didn't it win the PGA? You can say with stuff like Moonlight and Parasite, there's an obvious reason. Foreign language film, small indie film. Why did Sinners?
Let's now have this conversation.
Was a huge story for it. Lose.
Well, no, let's have the conversation.
That's semantics. I feel like.
This is all semantics.
moment.
Listen, we're not going to convince each other.
No, we're not.
Let them fight.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the big finale that we've been leading up to this entire awards season. We've been talking about these movies and these performances and this whole race for months, and this is the last time we'll be talking about them in the whole winning context. Heading into the Oscars this upcoming Sunday. A little too late this year. A little too late, I would say. I think we could have done it a few weeks earlier. We could have avoided some ballet discussions and such.
Which will not affect the winnings. So no matter what happens, that happened like when that started to trend, it was after
like right once voting closed. Yeah. So it's funny. It happened like voting closed Thursday at 5 p.m. PST, and I think that pretty much blew up like right after it. So
yeah.
Not that well, I don't want to spoil our predictions. Not that he was going to win anyway, but
yeah. But I do think it's interesting because it's funny. The season that I am comparing this the most to is the 1917 Parasite season, which was the shortest Oscar season. And so and it's interesting how the shortest Oscar season and one of the longer ones kind of both had the same like rhythm to the season. And I do think we're going to be talking about winners that would not have happened if this was without the Olympics. Another reason to love the Olympics, because it's gonna give some people an Oscar that they would not have had if the season was shorter. So it's a very interesting. This is the most up in the air Oscars ceremony I think we've seen in a decade. I think
in the top few categories.
Yeah,
I think the texts are like whatever, but the fact that like 3 of the 4 acting categories, I'm like. Is kind of crazy. And in a year with so many big races up in the air, everyone's got a prediction. You got to trust your gut. And if you trust your gut, you can actually trade on it. With Kalshi, you can trade on the Oscars in all 50 states in the United States. Kalshi is the largest prediction market. You can trade on anything from music, movies, politics, sports, and it's available in all 50 states. Let's take a look at what Kalshi markets say about the Oscars. In one of the more tight Best Picture races of the last few years, we've got One Battle after another in the lead with 74% and Sinners with 22%. But as you can see, Sinners is going up in the odds after the SAG Awards, and One Battle has gone down a little. If you believe in that last week that Sinners boost at the SAG Awards may have boosted to a Best Picture win, trust that instinct, trade on it. One of the craziest races, Best Actor, where Michael B. Jordan is in the lead at 60% after the SAG Awards, got a big boost, and he overtook Timmy, who was in the lead for the majority of the season. But as we'll get into later in this video, you have a chance, if you really, really trust your gut, like I do here in this case, and there's someone like Leonardo DiCaprio down there at only 5%, and I think he's got a much, much better shot with One Battle winning Best Picture to win. Say I only put $25 on Leo, who I think has a decent shot at winning. My payout, if he does win with 5% chance, would be $500. Say I want to be even riskier, throw $50 on it, $1,000 if Leo wins, which I think. Listen, stay tuned for the argument later on. I think that's a decent shot of happening. So trust that gut in this crazy season. Go check Kalshi out, do some trading. If you would like, use the code FilmForecast, and you can get a free $10 to use for trading. So once again, that is Kalshi. Check it out. Make some money off of your gut. You all are good predictors. I know that. You watch this channel. You can do well. Now back to the video. I
think the subjects of the shorts seem, and the titles, I'm feeling okay. Which probably
have you watched any of them? Is my question.
I have not made it to see any of them. Unfortunately, I'm
I've seen a
bad supporter of cinema.
It's okay. I watched a lot of the ones that are available. Some of them aren't available, but most of them are in YouTube or Vimeo and such. But let's start off with live action short film, where our nominees are Butcher's Stain, A Friend of Dorothy, Jane Austen's period drama The Singers, and Two People Exchanging Saliva. And we are both going with two people exchanging saliva here. One thing I think that is something we should consider. I don't know how much it will impact the race this year, but we do have this year the added honor system that requires Academy members to hopefully state that they've watched all the nominees before being allowed to vote in a given category. I do think it won't have like a huge major impact, but I do think in categories like this, where you have to go out of your way, like if you didn't watch these in the actual portal, then it'll like have a little gray area and say you haven't watched these. You have to like go through and like submit, like if you watched them in a theater, it's a whole process to like confirm that you've watched this stuff. So I think the lazy people, and especially in categories like this, we might like cull some of those people, and might be down to who the voters who I would consider maybe more hardcore, maybe more like film passionate people who do watch the shorts. And then I look at the nominees here, and I do think Two People Exchanging Saliva has the best title, the catchiest title. It's the most like filmic, like the artsiest, and it's also, in my opinion, my favorite one. I do think if they go for a more like crowd-pleasing, heartwarming one, which they do sometimes, which is also weird with these categories. You never really completely know what they're going to do. It's like some years they go for heartwarming, some years they go for serious. But I do think this one kind of has like a Yorgos Lanthimos style to it, and we see that they like his films recently. I think it's widely considered one of probably the best in the category. So that's why I'm going with that, but I would keep an eye out for A Friend of Dorothy.
Yeah, I mean, A Friend of Dorothy has celebrity talent. But so yeah, I just think that this has gotten the image that it is the most artistically daring. It's from what I've seen, it's beautifully shot, the black and white photography. And again, it has the catchy title. So it kind of has everything going for it to stick out among this race. And yeah, I agree with you that it seems like it would appeal to the type of voter who would take this category seriously, which because of the honor system, that is maybe even more so than other categories. This is one that I think people are either going to abstain from or they're going to take it seriously. And so I think it'll win for that reason.
I feel fine about this one. There's one short category I'm a little stressed about, but you can only stress about these so much. The one I feel most confident in next is documentary short film. Our nominees are All the Empty Rooms, Armed Only with a Camera, The Life and Death of Brent Renaud, Children No More Were and Gone, The Devil is Busy, and Perfectly Estrangedness. We are both going with All the Empty Rooms, the Netflix short film about the documentarian visiting the bedrooms of children who have passed away in school shootings in America, and the bedrooms are often untouched. Very, very sad. Very sad. If you want to have a like really solid cry, I would suggest watching it. But yeah, it's really moving. It's topical. I think a lot of Academy members are parents. I do think this hits home, especially for parents.
The one worry is if parents don't watch it because it's too upsetting.
But then would they vote? That's what, like, are they going to go out of their way to like say, like, oh, like to like cheat the system just to vote for something else in this category?
That's fair. Again, that's why this year the context is important. But I do think there might be some who like, you know, also it's an honor system, but like they could hit play and go do their laundry and then come back.
It's easy to cheat. It is easy.
So I just think like the one thing I could come up against it is that it might be too real for people and it might turn people off for that reason. But I don't think that will be the case. I do think it'll win. I think it's a very daring film. And I think the guy did this of his own volition, you know, because he was like, I can't keep, you know, covering these stories. He's a journalist. It's like, I can't keep covering these stories and not try and approach them from a different perspective that actually does something and brings some humanity back into something that seems to be so just in this forever chaotic cataclysm of, you know, thoughts and prayers, and then we move on, and then it happens again, and it just repeats and repeats and repeats. So I think it's a very important film, and I look forward. This is Netflix, correct?
Yes, Netflix usually wins at least one of the shorts, and I think this is where they will probably win. It was also on CBS News as well as connected to it. If there was an easier option amongst the documentary short nominees here, if there was like a crowd-pleasing, heartwarming one, because most of these are dark subject matter, and the one that isn't is Perfectly Estrangedness, which is an experimental film watching donkeys walk around for 15 minutes. So it's not like that's a heartwarming thing. So if there were 4 like darker subject matter ones and there was like a heartwarming one, like I forget what last year, like Only Girl in the Orchestra or something like that, I could see maybe something upsetting all the empty rooms, but there isn't one of those. So I do think it's just going to be all the empty rooms. To animated short film, we've got Butterfly, Forever Green, The Girl Who Cried Pearls, Retirement Plan, and The Three Sisters. This is the one I've been struggling with the most. I think 4 of these could win. Sorry, The Three Sisters. I think anyone else here could win. You are going with Butterfly. I'm very unconfidently going with Retirement Plan. The thing here is why Butterfly is the obvious frontrunner, I think, on both Gold Derby and Award Expert. It's considered the number 1. It's got the most beautiful animation. It's got very, I would say, the most timely subject matter. It's, as we see with the Academy in general, anything involving World War II is appealing to them oftentimes, and this is involving that. What makes me hesitant is I don't think this category has ever awarded a foreign language film here. They really prefer you either being silent or English language, and this is foreign language. And they also really like, this is why I say it's hard to predict in this category in particular, because like sometimes I'm like, they like going often they like going with the ones with like the animals, like the boy, the mox, the foal, the horse, whatever it was. I think I just did it, whatever that was, the foal, the mox. But they sometimes they go for that, and then sometimes
are these creatures from Pandora? What are we talking about?
They are, yeah. But then sometimes it's like, well, obviously Robin is going to win, but then the windshield wipers won that year, I think.
Which was, I think, that was my favorite of that category that year, and it was also the one that I think was by far the most artistically, like, not only that's visual and beautiful, but like, appealing. So that's why ultimately I just think when you like the subtitle thing, especially in a year where, you know, we had 2 movies nominated, you know, back-to-back years, 2 foreign language films, international features in Best Picture. To me, I wouldn't hold that against it too much, especially when the other bona fides Butterfly has clearly make it, I think, stand among the pack. Is it dangerous that everybody seems to be predicting the same 3 shorts? Yes. Yeah. So you might have something to it. But I don't know, just again, from what I've seen, you know, researching them, because again, some of them are, you know, hard to find, and also, you know, just making sure I have the time to see them. This just visually stuck out. I just think the watercolors, just that still frame of the poster is just absolutely stunning.
It's easily the prettiest animation for sure. Retirement Plan, I don't know, part of me is just like, I think it's the shortest one. I think it strikes the right balance between light and still having like some heft to it. It's about like this guy who's pretty much talking about all the stuff he wants to do when he retires, and it's pretty much by the end of it like, do the stuff while you can. I feel like it's Retirement. I'm really just going off of my gut. Off of the ones I watched, it's also narrated by Domhnall Gleeson, which is always helpful to have a name attached. I just could see like that being the one out of all of them that stuck with people after they finished watching them. Forever Green does check all of the boxes. It's about like topical stuff with climate change and all that. It has an animal at the center, a bear. It's got very nice animation. It's like Pixar in a way. I don't know. I just feel like if, like we said, we have maybe some of the more serious members participating with the honor system, if they're going to go with something that I think is a little simple and more kiddie than like that. At the end of the day, like we've said with all of these, you can look at like the history of the trends of what they sometimes tend to go for, and then like the next year they totally break that trend. So there's no really complete way to like, you just have to take a few shots in the dark, it seems. I think often the best bet is to go with like the top thing that most people are predicting, because then like if they're wrong, most people ended up getting it wrong, so you're in the same boat with everyone else. So I did that with 2 of them, and I just wanted to take a little swing here because the foreign language thing held me back from Butterfly, and Retirement Plan was just sweet, and that's the one that stuck with me the most. So I was like, why not? So
all right,
first up, original song, we've got Dear Me, Diane Warren, Relentless, Golden, K-pop Demon Hunters, I Lied to You from Sinners, Sweet Dreams of Joy from Viva Verde, and Train Dreams from Train Dreams. Like multiple tech categories, we're going to speed through here. I mean, how much can we really say? I think it's going to be Golden.
Well, listen, Golden has a precursor in that it was nominated for the Grammy for Best Song of the Year. I do think if Sinners can really motivate a momentum like Sweep, then it could come along for the ride, especially because it is at the center of the best moment that most people pick out from Sinners. I mean, just looking at the people they have set up to perform at the Oscars,
It's just these two.
including Misty
Oh
Copeland,
yes, yeah.
a ballerina, which I find curious when that decision was
Sydney's going to walk out.
But I do think like the one thing I've been saying in Sinners' favor for this category is the year that Coco beat The Greatest Showman, which was like This Is Me was the more popular song, but Coco was in the more Oscar-friendly movie. But K-pop Demon Hunters will likely be winning another Academy Award.
Also, Golden is like insane in terms of
Golden
charting.
It's the Let It Go of the 2020s.
Yeah. The issue with I Lied to You is I think it's easily the best scene in the movie, but in my opinion, I don't think it's like even like one of the top 2 best songs in the film. I don't think it's like as good musically as the scene is like filmically. So I do think
it's tough. I Lied to You was I think a more daring song, but Golden is, packaged and very clean.
In the voting system, this will be the easiest one to vote for because when you click on it, they just play the scene from the film, not the whole actual film. But I do think that actually helps Sinners. If when you click on it and it does play the scenes of all of these, I do think that will stick out a little. So in the moment of voting, if you do click through all of them and you watch all of them, you're like, dang, I love that Sinners scene. Maybe. I do know everyone's names for the first time ever is on the ballot this year. Like in a lot of the tech categories, it was usually just like cinematography, Sinners or whatever, cinematography.
Francine Maisler's like, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because I wonder,
Diane Warren's name will be on it's in the title anyways. So original score. Our nominees are Begonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, One Battle After Another, and Sinners. I don't even need to put an alternative here. Sinners has swept the entire season. It's extremely strong. I saw somewhere it's like one of the strongest in this category, precursor-wise. There's no world where it loses. I'm sorry to Johnny Greenwood, even in an extremely strong Best Picture frontrunner, he still cannot win for Best Score. He will eventually, but Ludwig is just kind of racking them up. We'll have to see. He's back here next year once again with the Odyssey. Maybe he goes back to back. Sound. Our nominees are F1, Frankenstein, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Seurat. We're both going with F1. It's done pretty well precursor-wise. Sinners has snuck in a few precursors and done decently in some spots. I do think there's a world where Sinners overperforms, and it does win here. But lately, once they've combined the sound categories, they don't tend to go for the music-leaning films. They tend to go for films more like an F1 or a Dune or Zone of Interest is an interesting one.
But Sinners, does have its action moments, so it's not just purely like a musical in the way that like people I remember were predicting La La Land would win sound as far as to bolster its race to the Oscar to the Best Picture, and then it went to Arrival and Hacksaw Ridge. And they were split. I just think ultimately F1, it's the loudest movie, which I think often helps, and it's definitely well done. How they're able to balance it and keep you. You really do feel like you're in the car, and I do think F1's strength to get into Best Picture is because of categories like this. So I think that it makes sense that
it's like Top Gun. It's the only thing.
Top Gun, Ford v Ferrari, which won one of the sounds its year. You can tell how easy these categories are to predict because we keep going on.
We're just moving towards the ones that are more interesting conversations. So let's not delay that any further.
Yes.
A really, really interesting conversation. Best visual effects. Our nominees are Avatar: Fire and Ash, F1, Jurassic World Rebirth, The Lost Bus, and Sinners. Once again, there's not even an alternative that is needed. Congrats to Avatar. An Oscar-winning film. You know it isn't? Wicked for Good.
Man, that was brutal. That was whoo. That was
sorry, rough. I just had to do it one more time this season, guys. Yeah. Just one more time.
I'm shook. I think you owe an apology to Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo.
I will put on a bragging badge that I never once predicted Ariana Grande to win a single award in either of the seasons. In both award seasons, a lot of people did that. I would say most people did that. Especially the early half of this season, everyone was like, Grande's number one.
Well, and then we saw the movie. And I would like the credit that as soon as I saw the movie, as I did with Joker
unlike a lot of people,
I acknowledge reality. Wait, we should also be telling people what we would. I feel like what we would pick.
Oh, that's true. We should have in these less interesting ones.
Yeah.
Well, I would have picked Avatar.
Surprise.
Obviously.
Wait, go back real quick. Let's hit the others real quick.
Seurat.
I haven't seen
That's
Seurat,
fine.
so I'll abstain because that might be what I would have picked.
Smart.
If I
You're like a responsible voter.
Sinners.
Why isn't Marty Supreme here? Yeah, Sinners are one battle. I'll give it to Johnny Greenwood. Why not? Golden. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, you abstain from it. I missed like one or a few in each, so I'll abstain as well.
All right. Now we're back on track.
We're entering the Frankenstein run. Makeup and hairstyling. Our nominees are Frankenstein, Kokuo, Sinners, The Smashing Machine, and The Ugly Stepsister. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Would you vote for it? I would not.
Well, I haven't seen two of the nominees, so I will abstain.
Oh, I haven't seen Coco, so I should probably say abstain.
But I do think Frankenstein will win. I do think that it is at the center of the best part of the movie, which is the transformation of Jacob Elordi into the monster. And so, yeah, I think this is the most locked category for Frankenstein out of the three that I'm predicting it will win. I'm curious if you also agree that it will be winning three. So we'll see.
Well, unlike the other two categories, those are mostly Best Picture nominees. What's interesting here is we might have some more abstaining in this category compared to those, because have people seen Coco? Have people seen Ugly Stepsister?
Mm-hmm.
Those are more obscure.
The answer is no. I don't think they will be seeing those.
So I would guess there's less voter turnout in this than there is in production or costume design. So maybe, I don't even know what else it would be though. Costume design nominees: Avatar, Fire and Ash, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, Sinners, not Wicked. The winners.
All right.
Okay, I'll
this video to perform well. It's all.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to protect you.
I'll cut that out. Frankenstein. Do we have anything else to say?
Frankenstein. I would probably I remember being just so moved by everything Mia Goth wore in this movie that I would probably give it to Frankenstein.
I'd vote for Avatar.
Yeah. Oh, so shocker.
Production design: Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, one battle after another, and Sinners. Congratulations to Frankenstein once again. Marty Supreme should win though. Jack Fisk, legend. Period.
I would say so. Do you have Marty Supreme as your number two that you think will win?
Will win? Probably.
Like if Frankenstein doesn't win, you think Marty Supreme would take it? Because I think Sinners. This could be one. This could be like your Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, where just out of nowhere it wins something, because I think that setting is so clearly defined, and it's also period, and just I could see if they, if you do Frankenstein for the other two, maybe you go Sinners, and this is a rogue one that it can win.
Film editing: we have F1, Marty Supreme, one battle after another, sentimental value, and Sinners. And our first disagreement. Well, I'm going with one battle. Have you changed your mind since?
Here's the thing.
You're currently going with F1.
So this was my original logic. Okay. Editing usually links up between picture or sound. Mm-hmm. Usually, whatever wins editing will win one of those categories. The last time it didn't do that was 14 years ago with the girl with the dragon tattoo. That was the last time an editing winner did not also win either sound or picture. So then you play it out. What is winning sound and what is winning picture?
The last few years, it's gone to picture.
It has gone to picture, which, not to spoil what's coming, for me,
I think people are picking up on it.
That would be Sinners. And for a second, I didn't know how I felt, because the only big precursor that it won was the Ace Eddie, which one battle after another also won. One battle, one battle, which I think is why people are leaning one battle. Personally,
and it's the best picture winner.
Yeah, well, in your mind, I do think it makes sense. If you're predicting one battle, I think then it makes sense. Originally, I was going one because I couldn't decide between what was winning picture. I was like, okay, let me just go with what's winning sound. And Ford v Ferrari won editing. I was like, okay, that makes sense. But I do think, I don't know if people will regard F1 as highly as they did.
The fact that it lost the Ace to Sinners, I think, is pretty telling.
So I am gonna go with Sinners. So
okay, wow.
Because I ultimately do think the trend now, as of the last few years, is go with the Best Picture winner. And even though it's not flashy, I don't think it's as flashy as one battle after another with the car chase. I do think I ultimately, because we never expected Sinners to do well at BAFTA, and clearly what happened at the ceremony proved that. To me, putting so much stock in the BAFTA win for One Battle, especially if I don't think it's winning Best Picture, is not the reason why I'm going to take it.
I just think people talk about the editing a lot more with One Battle than they do about Sinners. Like people kind of like Oppenheimer way. It's like a 3-hour film that people just said flew by. It flew by.
Yeah.
The editing in Sinners is good. I just don't think it's like top 3 thing people talk about.
Yes, but also it flew by because Paul Thomas Anderson too. Like it's not just the editing, and we're going to award the script and the direction that allowed it to move. It's not just an editing feat. I grant you, it might be what I honestly probably would pick One Battle as my personal choice to win this category. And I honestly, I do think it could very well win. I think this is the one where I'm going to go with the number 2 choice and take a risk. Because you got to find the little, you got to find your retirement plans. This is my retirement plan. So I am going to go Sinners and support my Best Picture narrative.
Okay, moving along. Next up, cinematography. Our nominees are Frankenstein, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Train Dreams. We have another disagreement. I am going with One Battle After Another, and you are going with Sinners.
This is another thing. This is another thing I put. Listen, I spent the entire day.
Wait, literally. Are you going to switch over to One Battle? Well, One Battle. You should choose One Battle.
Yes, I am, because
BSC, and BAFTA.
I think once looking at the precursors, that it won 3 major precursors, One Battle After Another. I do think that to me feels strong. What was happening is that I was toying between editing and cinematography for One Battle, and I was like, am I really going to give it to both and directing and screenplay and maybe in acting and then not give it picture? I was like, this is too much. And so I backed off and went to Sinners. But then I think over the weekend we saw that it did very well.
It won every single major, all of the 3 major ones. It's pretty rare. The last time I forget the last time it happened where someone who won all 3. I remember it was a cinematographer who passed away, and maybe that. I forget the film. I remember that's what happened. But usually, even if you win 2 out of the 3, you end up winning. So if you win 3 out of 3,
I think now that I made this prediction before this past weekend, and now that this weekend has happened, and we saw that it won all these guilds, I think One Battle After Another will be winning Best Cinematography.
Animated film. Our nominees are Arco, Elio, K-pop Demon Hunters, Little Amelie, or The Character of Rain, or Zootopia 2. Next up,
I'm making a change. No, I'm kidding.
Last minute change. I'm switching over to Little Amelie. We don't even have anything to really say here, do we?
And now that Netflix isn't taking over the world, I think people can be fine voting for the Netflix movie.
Hang on. Documentary feature film. This is actually more of a discussion, I would say. Our nominees are The Alabama Solution, Come See Me in the Good Light, Cutting Through Rocks, Mr. Nobody Against Putin, and The Perfect Neighbor. We're both going with The Perfect Neighbor, but I'm not super confident in it because it is pretty weak in terms of industry precursors. Mr. Nobody Against Putin did win a big industry precursor with the BAFTA. It's the only thing it won. Perfect Neighbor, I think, only has the Indie Spirit and the Critics' Choice win. But if you were nominated, the main thing with this one that we talked about all season is it was frontrunner. It's the kind of frontrunner which we see in this category often. Like, it could very easily miss because it is the frontrunner. But if it gets nominated, it will probably win. We talked about this with movies like Summer of Soul, but that was a sweeper. But it has the best combination of precursors. Out of all of these, it's the biggest. Like, this was a moment when it dropped on Netflix. I feel like this was like easily the most seen and talked about.
For the equivalent of a streaming release, this felt like Free Solo. Like, it actually managed to pierce the veil of actually getting some notoriety beyond the cinephile world. I also think, I'm not sure what the percentage is anymore, but I do think for anybody in America, I think this movie really hits home. And I think this movie is devastating. And it's kind of interesting how we have, I think European, with Mr. Nobody Against Putin, a movie that really probably hits home for them. And then a movie that hits home for us here in America with The Perfect Neighbor. I just think it's the biggest movie.
The Perfect Neighbor won the Critics' Choice Award, the Spirit Award, and the Ace Award. And no film that has won the Critics' Choice Award and the Spirit Award has lost the Oscar if they were nominated in this category. The same goes for the Critics' Choice and the Ace Award. So I think the fact that it was nominated was the biggest hurdle for it to clear, and it cleared that, so it will probably win. But I'm iffy. I won't be shocked if Mr. Nobody Against Putin wins. or against Putin, same thing. Yeah, so that's documentary. Our final feature film conversation, which is also an interesting one. Our nominees are The Secret Agent, It Was Just an Accident, Sentimental Value, Sarat, and The Voice of Hinra Job. We are both going with Sentimental Value. I know people say this is a close race or a tough category. I kind of disagree, honestly. The main thing
I do too.
The Secret Agent has is Golden Globe, which we've seen has a big South American voting body to it, even last year. And then it won the Critics' Choice Award because Sentimental Value was in Best Picture at the Critics' Choice. And if you were nominated in Best Picture at the Critics' Choice, you can't be nominated in International Feature Film. So that alone tells you at the Critics' Choice Awards, Sentimental Value was stronger than The Secret Agent. Yeah. Sentimental Value won the BAFTA. It was nominated at the PGA, whereas Secret Agent wasn't.
It got all 4 of its actors in. That's all I need to know.
It overperformed.
It overperformed. And I think there's a lot of love for it. And I'm not sure that love is going to be spread out to any other category, so they're going to take care of it here.
Sucks, but yes, I agree. I have not completely made up my mind in terms of casting, where our nominees are Sinners, The Secret Agent, One Battle After Another, Hamnet, and
Really? You haven't decided? Sorry.
Well, part of me is like, when you look at the BAFTA Awards, which has had this category for 5 or 6 years, so there's enough time to look at data. Every single time besides 1 year, the one that won Best Casting also won an acting prize. So
this will.
Like, will it?
Yes, it will.
We'll get to that in a second. Will Sinners win an acting prize?
Yes, it will. And there's also 2 other words that will guarantee this.
Francine Maisler, yes.
Thank you very much.
It makes sense. Her name is on the ballot. She's worked with every actor, and actors are the biggest branch in the Academy. So yes, I will do Sinners. But part of me is like, but if One Battle is like super strong in picture, I do think there's a world where this wins. But the Francine Maisler thing, all of the precursors for this category have gone to Sinners pretty much, besides we'll get to I Swear and the chaos that has caused this whole season. But besides I Swear,
one ensemble at SAG, which she was on stage with them for. This to me is as close to a lock as, honestly, like some of the other categories for Sinners, like score. Like I feel really good about this for them.
Yeah. I will go with Sinners as well. Next up, adapted screenplay. Our nominees are Begonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, One Battle After Another, and Train Dreams. One Battle After Another is easily winning this category.
Will win. Should win.
Yeah, I agree. It should win. Original screenplay. Our nominees are Blue Moon, It Was Just an Accident, Marty Supreme, Cinema Value, and Sinners. Once again, both the screenplay categories are pretty easy.
Take it to the bank.
It won WJ, it won the BAFTA. I mean, the BAFTA win is what sealed it up. So, yeah.
I'm going to be so happy.
Ryan Coogler's first and probably only Oscar of the night. For some of us.
He's a producer.
I think he is a producer. So if it wins picture, he would win. But we'll get to that. We'll keep teasing it. But I'm guessing that's what you would vote for too. Yeah. Cinema Value is my favorite of the movies here, but I think I would vote for It Was Just an Accident. Best Supporting Actor. Our nominees are Benicio del Toro, Jacob Elordi, Delroy Lindo, Sean Penn, and Stellan Skarsgård. We both agree here that Sean Penn is going to win for One Battle After Another. I'm not extremely confident in it, but the SAG and BAFTA combo is hard to go against. And I'm taking risks in other acting categories.
Nobody has ever won with just those awards.
I know, but I feel like in 3 of the 4 acting categories this year, there's stats that are going against everyone. Yeah. Everyone's going to be breaking stats. So I feel like at the end of the day, you have the 2 big industry precursors. I'm not going to say you won't win it, even though I do think there's a world where either Skarsgård or Lindo do win. The interesting thing is Lindo hasn't gone up against any of these people before at previous ceremonies. He hasn't been nominated, so people haven't had the chance to vote for him. So who knows? I mean, if he wins, I feel like Sinners is winning Best Picture. But he has been out front. He did the speech at SAG. He did the speech at Critics' Choice for Ensemble. He's really been campaigning.
And the thing about Sean Penn is that this would be his 3rd Oscar. To my knowledge, he had never won a BAFTA. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. That was his first BAFTA, yes.
It was his first BAFTA, and I think SAG, because One Battle wasn't winning anything else, it was a way to win. It was a way to honor that movie. And
It's
so
the showiest performance too. That's what
it's
SAG
a show's
likes.
performance, and he is literally the active agent in that movie. He is doing the
He
most,
moves it forward.
arguably, in that film. But he's also a guy who literally said he was going to burn his Oscars a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a weird thing. He hasn't campaigned at all. It reminds me a little bit of Frances McDormand with Nomadland,
But
which
even
is
more
just
intense.
intense.
Because she
But I
didn't say
mean,
she was going to smelt her Oscars.
no, I'm not comparing her in that. I'm just comparing her in like
No, I know.
third Oscar, just stepping right into it.
Didn't campaign
no
at
need
all.
for campaign. Because I do think that it's. Are you saying that you think Lindo is 2 and Skarsgård is 3?
I don't know. Because out of all of the places that liked sentimental value, the Oscars liked it the most. It did the best here out of any other awards body. And he does have a precursor with the Golden Globe, which does have no overlap. It's been a while since that speech. Honestly, during the voting period, who was out there and talking more was Lindo. So he probably is number 2, if I were to guess. But I'm not going to predict a Marcia Gay Harden in this situation because
It's tough. I think by Sunday, who knows? I think this is the thing. I think if you're being smart, and we'll get to supporting actress, if you're going to be smart, no matter listen, it's going to be Sinners or One Battle After Another for Best Picture, and I think it's smart to take one of them in one of the acting categories. So I think this is the best chance One Battle has to win an acting award, which is ultimately, I think, why I'm going to go with it. But listen, with the passion we see for Sinners, I mean, it is the most nominated film in Oscar history. The idea that it would pull off an Everything Everywhere and win 2 or 3 acting awards is not out of the realm of possibility. So if Lindo won, it would not be the most shocking thing. I don't think you think Leonardo DiCaprio.
We're going to get to it. Don't spoil future categories. We're going to get to it.
Major categories. We have 3 left or 4 left.
I know. Yes, but they're the big ones. These are the ones we have the most to discuss.
So yeah, I'm going with Sean Penn as of now. But again, it'll be interesting. Maybe just listen, mad respect, and then that's it. Goodbye.
I think that's what it is. I think it's people love the performance. I think
and it's not a supporting performance.
And journalists, no, it's a big. The critics and journalists, I think, kind of led us astray in the first half of the year because when One Battle came out, the vast majority of people said, "Oh, that's Sean Penn's 3rd Oscar," and then the critics' vote came in and they went hard for Benicio del Toro. They gave Jacob Elordi the Critics' Choice. They gave Stellan Skarsgård the Golden Globe, and then the industry actually spoke and they said Sean Penn both of the times. So maybe the critics, I think people who are more likely to go against Sean Penn would be people like critics and journalists than the actual industry. The industry doesn't really seem to care about giving someone another Oscar when they have won multiple before, or they're
and when you have the goods
stuff. Yeah. And when you have the goods.
Say, like when he won his second one, he was like, I know I make it hard for you guys to like me, so thank you for this.
Yes.
So,
yes. Let's get into it. Supporting actress. Our nominees are Elle Fanning, Inga Ibstadler-Leas, Amy Madigan, Wunmi Mosaku, and Tiana Taylor. I don't feel good about this at all. I am predicting Amy Madigan for Weapons just because she has the 2 biggest precursors, and
arguably,
that's really all.
She doesn't have BAFTA.
Arguably. And SAG is pretty consistent when it comes to this category of rewarding the eventual winner in this category. And I think part of me feels like Wunmi Mosaku and Tiana Taylor, for some reason, neither of them were strong enough. Like, even though they're in the stronger films, I don't think either of their performances, it seems like, were strong enough to like stand out and become a number 1. That I think it allowed someone like Amy Madigan, who's in a weaker film but has the stronger narrative and I would say the showiest performance, to kind of take the lead.
Okay, can I ask you this? Do you see this as a 3-horse race?
I do, yeah. I think Tiana Taylor can still win easily.
With just
in split races, what we often say is, in split races, we sometimes say go with who is in the stronger film. And in my opinion, I know for you it's a different film, but I think that's One Battle.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I'm really torn on this. And the one thing I want to bring up is that mandatory honor system that they are doing. Because in most years, a single nominee for a horror film would have no chance. Does that honor system mean that Madigan has a better chance because people, in theory, maybe a higher percentage actually had to watch Weapons in order to vote?
I think most of them have already seen it before voting, honestly. It was a
'Cause
hit.
that
It
is
got PGA nominated.
Yeah, because that is the one thing about Madigan is that yes, she's the sole nominee, but I don't think her movie was a low priority screener, and I do think people
Oh,
respect her,
no.
and I do think Masaku and Taylor are looked at as like Carrie Condon, where it's like she might have given a better performance, but or at least a worthy one, but she was, the nomination was the win because it got them in the door, and we're going to go with Jamie Lee Curtis, who's the veteran.
She was in the Best Picture winner that had like 11 Oscar
No,
nominations.
I agree. That's why originally I went with Masaku, and that's who you show on your slideshow there.
Have you changed your mind since?
I don't. I really don't. This is
I
the
also don't
hardest
know.
category to pick because I think, listen, you could run the strategy both ways. I don't think it's Taylor. I do think there's enough people who are having issues with that performance and the fact that she is not at the center of what makes that movie great. Like I think people what they love about One Battle After Another, nothing to do with her, but what they love about One Battle After Another, they love when she leaves the movie. They like when Chase Infinity comes in.
That's my favorite part of the film, the first 40.
You're like, okay, but I do like. I get the feeling that the movie really
it's an issue
when
that it is an issue for sure
and I give her credit because I think she lifts that first third. I mean, she gets the movie going.
You feel her.
No disrespect for her, but I do think the character itself has been controversial, and I do think like that's the thing about Amy Madigan is that she's at the center of what makes Weapons great.
And she's in the second half. You leave thinking about her.
Yeah, it's an original
She also
character.
doesn't show up for a while.
She's been giving great speeches. I think the fact that Musaku is going to be the third actor they come across makes me think that then they go Madigan.
That's a hesitation I've had with this performance in general all season. It's my favorite performance in the film. I love it. I love the fact that she was nominated in win contention. But I think most people, when they watch, Mosaku, I think when most people, there's a reason why most people didn't have her predicted, even though we saw the film in April, until she started picking up some serious like wins and nominations. Because I don't think it's the kind of performance that stands out really. I think she's like the center of gravity of the film, in my opinion, but it's not showy. She's not a name. I think that's why she didn't win SAG. I do think you can argue she
won SAG too. That's the other ripple with this is that she won BAFTA.
The fact that Sinners won Ensemble and Michael B. Jordan, and she didn't win at the SAG Awards when Sinners was that strong, I think says something.
Well, yes, but you could also run it in. I've voted for Sinners twice, and she won an award, and you're trying to spread the love, and Amy Madigan is the way to spread the love. But that could also be how they feel come the night of, that they want to give Amy Madigan something. I think it's just interesting because I feel like the people, the type of veterans that win these categories, like, again, no disrespect, and will forever bow to the altar of Amy Madigan, but it's not like she was a household name a year ago.
I think most people did not know her before Weapons, honestly.
I mean, listen, this might be, you can educate us in the comments if we're just, stupid Americans who did not know of the greatness of Amy Madigan. But I think this movie introduced her to a whole new generation. And so I think that's what's interesting. It's like people knew Jamie Lee Curtis, people knew these sort of, the veteran people. And that's what I think is great about this performance is that it's completely skyrocketed her because of 30 minutes of screen time.
When it comes down to performance, I think she is the most baity of these three. I do think an issue that I do want to bring up with Tiana Taylor is when it comes to female characters, and I would say especially female characters of color, it's not great to be a character who I think lots of people consider unlikable. I do think that hurts. And it's unfortunate that someone like Sean Penn can win for a character like Colonel Lockjaw, but that does not affect men. They are fine with giving actors those kind of things. But the fact that she's considered unlikable, and that you see a lot of people when they watch the film, they consider her a villain in a way. I think she's much more complex than that and nuanced. But I do think lots of people leave that film and they don't like her character. And I think when you look at especially women of color who win in this category, it's Divine Joy Randolph. It's more like a Mosaku. Yeah. I also think it's worth mentioning this entire decade, I think like the last 6 or 7 years, the acting winners at the Oscars, the quartet at the Oscars, those four, usually it is either BAFTA or SAG went 4 for 4 with the Oscar for. So if you look through the history of all of them, the last 5 or 6 years, the 4 Oscar winners were either your 4 winners at BAFTA or your 4 winners at SAG. So theoretically, if your safest bet, I would say, is to just go with the 4 SAG winners because that was closer to the voting period.
Well, you can't do the 4 BAFTA winners.
That's the thing. You would do the 3 BAFTA winners, and then theoretically, who was number 2 at BAFTA in actor, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
But and that's maybe where I'm like, well, maybe I should do Mosaku then. So it will be technically 4 for both the Oscars, where it's the 3 BAFTA winners and whoever was number 2 in actor.
And I mean, listen, I am still haunted by Demi Moore not winning for The Substance. Granted, she was up against the Best Picture frontrunner lead, the lead
Which
of
both
that
of
movie.
these women are against. Amy Madigan.
But they're not the leads of their movies. Like if you're voting for Nora for Best Picture, then I understand.
Mikey Madison is a Nora.
Exactly. So because that is the one thing. I mean, the way this movie ends, I mean, this movie's gross. It's gnarly. But maybe supporting actress, we can tolerate it. I mean, we do like our villains in supporting actress. I think that what's going to be interesting is that Sean Penn and
supporting actor.
What?
We like villains more in supporting actor than actors.
Well, we don't typically have roles like Amy Madigan's, but I think I'm just saying, like, if Amy Madigan would not be doing as well if she was in lead. I think the fact that she's in supporting, we tend to like characters like this in supporting, and then we like our empathetic heroes in lead. Though Michael B. Jordan, half of his role is a villain. So
it's complex.
I mean, I don't know. He's trying to. It's more complex, but sure.
It's
but
complex.
When his head is banging on the door, I think there's a villainous streak in there.
There is.
Amy
Madigan's a villain who you like to hate.
I might flip back. I think I'm going to lean Madigan because I do think Mosaku and Taylor are going to cancel each other out. I think those sort of voters are similar, and I think the people who want to vote for Madigan are going to vote for Madigan. And listen, there is precedent. Ruth Gordon won for Rosemary's Baby for a very similar performance. So I do think they've shown capability.
Yes.
A while ago. Yeah, but that's the type of performance that this Academy would vote for. So the fact that they've done it in the past, way back, I understand. But like, there is precedence for a role like this winning, and it would be wild. And you're right. I mean, this movie was seen.
It's a PGA nominee. My issue is it didn't get a single other nomination. I think the last winner in this category who didn't have a single other nomination was Penelope Cruz for Vicky Cristina Barcelona.
Which that was an asterisk because they were pushing Kate Winslet in the supporting because they were pushing Kate Winslet for Revolutionary Road in lead, but then they put Winslet for the Reader in lead, and that allowed her to get. But
it's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. I mean, I guess you could also use Christopher Plummer in that. I forget the movie, like The Beginners or whatever. But that's Christopher Plummer. That is not Amy Madigan. Once again, no offense to Amy Madigan.
But maybe it is. I mean, she's married to Ed Harris. I mean, she's lovely. Everybody, and I
think people have become aware. If they weren't aware, they've become aware of her legacy. So I think, that's.
And I mean, I was so moved by how happy she was when Michael B. Jordan won the SAG Award. Like her reaction to that, like, and the fact that she was like. And she was like, oh, and Viola gave it to him. And she was so happy that moment happened. Like she just, I don't know. I think she's hitting the zeitgeist. And listen, it's also, the work is phenomenal. Like the character is original. And I do think if Teyana Taylor, if Perfidia Beverly Hills, starts the movie, but, isn't the main thing you remember leaving one battle after another. You remember the car chase, remember, Benicio del Toro's A Few Small Beers. Like there's so much in that movie that she is a great element of it, but she's not the standout. And Rumi Mosaku is a great supporting, again, those Sinners cast is actually supporting actors in these categories for once.
Yes.
Amy Madigan is definitely the most iconic, the most memorable. I'm going to do it. I'm going to predict Amy Madigan.
I was hoping you would come in here and like convince me to switch over to Wound Me, but
I can't. It's maybe I will.
Do you think BAFTA? How much do you think her Britishness factored into the BAFTA win?
I don't know. It's
also worth mentioning Madigan not even nominated at BAFTA.
I think there are just some things with BAFTA that you just have to like leave at the door. Like they're a different group for a reason. So I'm going to. You're
going Madigan. The fact that she also had a great speech during the middle of voting with SAG. I've always just had a little mental block with Mosaku and winning. I thought Taylor was going to sweep, but only having a Globe is iffy.
Not a sweep.
Not a sweep at all.
And this is the thing. If Demi Moore had won, then it wouldn't be as big a question. I think I'm being thrown by the substance, but it's a completely different context. So I think I'm going to go Mad again. And I would love that.
Yeah.
I'd be very happy.
I'm gonna go Mad again too. We got 2 villains in our supporting categories. Two campy villains.
And we're about to get 2 young heroes in the leads.
Are we young?
Oh my god. He looks young. Yep. At least I think he looks young because I know who I'm picking. But please,
let's move on. Actor in a leading role. Our nominees are Timothée Chalamet for Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio for One Ballot for Another, Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, and Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent. I am predicting Leonardo DiCaprio for One Ballot for Another.
Crazy.
You have to. I'm being so chalk with so many predictions here. I need to take a swing somewhere, and I actually have a pretty good case here. Would you like me to lay it out? I'm gonna read my case.
So
like
it's gonna be. Yes,
I do think the safe pick is Michael B. Jordan, which I will mention in my case. Let's go full screen mode as I mentioned my case, and as I read it off.
Just minimize my screen. Just go for it. Have fun.
How do I do that? I don't think I can do that. Can I do that?
Relax. Just do it.
So I can do that. You're gone. No. People need to see your reaction as I speak. Okay. So I'm predicting Leonardo DiCaprio in Best Actor. I think in Best Actor this comes down to who I think for whoever you pick, whoever you predict, you should predict who I think you thought was in second at BAFTA. I think whoever was in second at the BAFTA Awards will probably win the Oscar, but there's no way we can truly know. But when we look at the I think we can come up with a pretty good argument for who is number 2. Let's start with Timmy first. I think you can discount Jesse Plemons and Ethan Hawke. They would not have been number 2 at the BAFTA Awards. Timmy, no actor has won the Oscar for Best Actor with just Golden Globe and Critics' Choice since Sean Penn in Mystic River in 2004. So that would be the case for Timmy. If he was number 2 and theoretically would have won the BAFTA, then he would have a very solid precursor package, the same that Brody had last year. But I think you can pretty safely say he wasn't number 2 at the BAFTA Awards. Marty blanked at BAFTA and was the biggest loser ever in the history of that ceremony. Why would he be number 2? Another thing against Timmy, I was looking at the history of Best Actor at the Oscars, which this also applies to the BAFTA Awards. But Best Actor winners are very rarely the sole winners for their films. And when they are the sole winners for their films, they are sweepers. And they sweep the most important precursors, especially SAG and BAFTA. You look at people like Will Smith was the sole win for his film. He swept all the precursors. Same goes for Redmayne. Same goes for Forrest Whitaker. Same goes for Philip Seymour Hoffman, Jeffrey Rush. All of those people were sole wins for their film, and they swept the precursors. Only 2 actors were sole winners for their films and did not sweep the precursors. Denzel Washington for Training Day, which you had the whole Russell Crowe assaulting someone at the BAFTA Awards, which is, I think, why he did not end up winning that year. Nicolas Cage, who didn't sweep, but he still had the SAG Award, which Timmy does not have. So I think that I'm going to write off Timmy for the Oscar, and I think also for being number 2 at the BAFTA Awards, because you can apply the same thing at the BAFTA Awards. There's only a few people who have won as the sole win for their film at the BAFTA Awards. Now let's move on to the more compelling competition, the safe prediction. I think most people probably should do if you want to get it right. Michael B. Jordan, he has the SAG Award. He's the only nominee with an industry precursor. He's in the most nominated film ever. He gave a great speech and moment in the middle of voting. Yeah, he was right behind Timmy in terms of critic wins. He makes the most sense. I would suggest predicting him if you want to be accurate. But no actor has ever won with just SAG as their precursor. And I just don't think he was number 2 at the BAFTA Awards, Michael B. Jordan. But something we have to bring up, which we brought up earlier with the BAFTAs, is their history, especially this year, their terrible relationship in history with Black actors. I think the key example people will always bring up, Denzel Washington, an actor who I think some people might say Michael B. Jordan is following in the footsteps of in a little bit of a way. Denzel Washington has never been nominated for a BAFTA Award, and he has 10 Oscar nominations. So only 5 Black actors have won Best Actor at the BAFTA Awards. Sidney Poitier back in 1958, when the ceremony was completely different, and they had separate categories for Best British Actor and Best Foreign Actor. He won Best Foreign Actor, so you can't really compare it to modern times. But comparing to modern times, we have Jamie Foxx, who swept the season for Ray. We have Forrest Whitaker, who swept the season for Last King of Scotland, and Will Smith, who swept the season for King Richard. Then we have Chiwetel Ejiofor, who won for 12 Years a Slave at the BAFTA Awards, but that film also won Best Film at the BAFTAs that year. Michael B. Jordan does not fit any of those previous people who have won. He is not a clean season sweeper, and his film did not win Best Film at the BAFTA Awards. Do you know it did win Best Film at the BAFTA Awards? One Ballot After Another won 6 BAFTAs to Sinners 3. As a matter of fact, they loved One Ballot After Another so much that this voting body, which chose not to award Sean Penn for his 2 previous Oscar-winning performances in Mystic River and Milk, they loved One Ballot After Another so much that this actor who they didn't award for Oscar-winning performances that he was nominated for, they gave him his first win here at the BAFTA. That makes me feel decently confident that Leo was number 2 at the BAFTA Awards. And if they didn't have their whole I Swear Love Fest anomaly, then I think he would have won. And we would be in the same situation as we were last year, previous years, where Mikey Madison was in the Best Picture winner with BAFTA as her only precursor, and Frances McDormand, who was in the Best Picture winner with BAFTA as her only precursor. Here, Leo would be in the Best Picture winner with BAFTA as his only precursor. Also worth mentioning, every time this past decade, the last 5 or 6 years, the Best Picture winner has had their lead nominated at the Oscars. They ended up winning with Frances McDormand, Michelle Yeoh, Cillian Murphy, Mikey Madison. If you have Sinners winning Best Picture, Michael B. Jordan makes sense. I don't have Sinners winning Best Picture, and I do have One Battle winning. I think you can make a very solid argument, like I just did, that Leo was number 2 at the BAFTA Awards. And then if Leo had won the BAFTA and it's winning Best Picture, I think it's very compelling. That's all I will say. Now, why is Michael B. Jordan winning, Anthony?
I mean, talk about an Oscar-winning performance. Jesus, did you have all that written down? Oh my God.
Compel you at all with that? Who do you think was number 2 at BAFTA? I'll ask you that first. Who was number 2 at the BAFTA?
I was not prepared to hypothesize the runners-up.
It's really important, though. I think that's very important.
Listen, you make a compelling argument that Leo's number 2. For me, no, well, maybe 2 at the BAFTAs, but 2 overall. I think just this just comes down to whoever you think is winning Best Picture, go with them here. Because it does not make sense to go Michael B. Jordan and then one battle after another going Best Picture. It feels
that's something
weird.
That's blocking me as well.
Yeah.
Have him win here, but not Sinners win Best Picture. I
think that's why, for instance, I think the biggest thing against Marty Supreme and Timothy was that he's just an unlikable character, as you have been saying this entire season, but it definitely didn't help when Timothy...
People were hating on me when I was saying that. But
well, listen, first off, people had to see the movie first. But I frankly, I think what started to hurt Marty was that the more nobody likes a vanity project, and it just seemed that this was a means to an end. And then Josh Safdie had his controversy, and then it just became the sort of thing. I think the interesting thing with Marty is that when it started to fade, as a lot of movies do, Timothy was still strong, and then it just became the Timothy Chalamet show. And you never want to be the Timothy Chalamet show. I think that I give Leonardo DiCaprio credit that he is one of the biggest movie stars, maybe the last real movie star, and he is not stealing focus away from other people. You know, he's a supporting actor.
He lets his ensemble shine too.
True, but I think it's Leo is doing something special where, like, when Benicio's on screen, Benicio is the lead actor of this movie. He completely supports Benicio or Chase Infinity. You know, it is a real dignified performance from an actor who I think really respects not only cinema, but cinema's future, and understands that he is now facilitating, you know, he doesn't have to be the center of attention anymore, which is great. And I think that's why it's a beautiful performance. Yes. But I just think you can't deny the energy in that room. Jesse Plemons going like this when Michael B. Jordan won.
I don't like those energy in the room arguments, because this is a body of 11,000 people.
Yes, but
how many of those people were in the room?
I got it, but Parasite had the energy in the room at SAG, and look what happened.
I don't think that energy in the room is why it won. I think
it's representative that there is something truly special. I mean, Amy Madigan, I was just mentioning. I just don't think ultimately, again, especially because I think Sinners is winning Best Picture, I just don't think the argument that, you know, Leo, I mean, granted, we think Sean Penn is going to win, despite 2 other actors waiting in the wings for their first and Sean Penn getting his third. Leo definitely deserves a second by this point in his career, but he probably deserved a second by the time he got his first. So, you know, we're always playing catch up. I just think what Michael B. Jordan is doing, I think, is a higher degree of difficulty. He's playing 2, kind of 3 roles. Once Stack turns into a vampire, spoilers, apologies for a movie that's 11 months old. That's a true movie star waiting in the wings. And I think this would be a wonderful win for him. He
campaigned properly. He campaigned
properly. He gave a great SAG speech. You know, if we're going to give Amy Madigan points for a great SAG speech at voting, Michael B. Jordan certainly did that. And we do have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is that I do think the BAFTA incident did not motivate no voters to vote for Sinners and vote for Michael B. Jordan. It definitely had a small, if not a sizable enough impact to award it. Doesn't mean that's the reason it wins, but it is part of the conversation of this year that Sinners cannot be a movie that is taken for granted. And Michael B. Jordan has been delivering great work, especially with Ryan Coogler. I mean, I truly believe, I would like somebody to argue with me that they are the De Niro and Scorsese of this generation. They are one of the great pairings of movie history. And the fact that they're both going to win. The argument I gave for 2 fucking years with Ariana and Cynthia winning together, this is the real version of that. And I think it's going to happen where Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, they're going to both win that night.
It'll be a great photo. Great moment.
It'll be a great photo. Well, you don't think it's going to happen.
I feel like this is, but I feel like this is all very sentimental. I need more statistics.
That's what this is.
Stuff.
Well, the statistics.
No actor has ever won with just SAG.
Listen, it's going to break
a single other
no matter what. Yes, but
I know everyone's going to break.
What's Leo's precursor?
People have won Best Actor without a single precursor. No one has won with just.
You're telling me that the precursor we should go with is I won no awards versus I won an award at the best time.
I'm just saying. One of those things has happened and the other hasn't. But I do.
Listen,
that's
we're going to get to picture where both of them have a precursor that would stupefy the other. And
we'll get picture is an easy conversation, but we'll say I just think there's not a race there. But let's stick to Best Actor for now.
I still think it's Michael B. Jordan. I do think there's going to be a lot of energy to vote for him, and I think that was the thing. Is I think there was a sense of, are we really going to do it? And then once people proved that they were willing to do it, it's like, great, fantastic, check, please check them off. We're good.
But if I swear it didn't happen this year, and Leo did win the BAFTA.
I'm not, but even if he won BAFTA, then okay, it goes back to the argument, which is that I still think that the Oscars are a different voting body than the BAFTAs. You have already conceded that Sinners performing at BAFTA is not something that we're going to judge Sinners at the Oscars, because Oscars are much more likely to go behind Sinners than the BAFTAs. And again, if I think, like many people, it seems to be becoming more and more every day, the majority of that Sinners will win Best Picture.
No, yes.
I think
that's why we're on a different page
along for the ride. Yes. So I think we have it.
I know. I don't know. I feel like people place some money on Leonardo DiCaprio. Do some Kalshi. Do some.
No, you know what you should do is you should go place some money on Ryan Coogler winning Best Original Screenplay. I don't care if the odds are
you're
like
not
you have to spend.
Get any money.
If you put your life savings on it, you will.
You get like $5 extra or something.
You feel like One Battle is winning Best Picture, and in that case, it makes sense.
Leo won BAFTA.
Again, I don't fault your logic, because your logic is wrong from the top.
Michael B. Jordan would be no. we'll get to that, but no.
This is like me. This is like me. It's like me having to clean up like a wound at the bottom of your leg when the top of your leg is where the cut is.
One Battle to win Sinners is wrong. To beat Sinners, one is much more likely than the other, which we'll get to. But finishing up on actor, I think that would make Michael B. Jordan kind of like a Viola Davis in the Frances McDormand year. The only win is for the SAG. The Best Picture winner, actor, wins at the BAFTA Awards, and then carries.
Ma Rainey was not nominated for Best Picture.
No, I know. I'm just talking about the acting races in particular. But that was the only precursor she had, was SAG.
Yes, but she had already won before. I do think there's an energy to the fact. I think you also can't deny Timothy is a ghost over this, because I do think there is an energy about wanting to give it to somebody new. I mean, Ethan Hawke is in this category because I don't think Ethan Hawke gets in this category necessarily if he's won before. I think there was a feeling of wanting to get him in because they love him and he deserves this recognition. I mean, if he had already won, maybe Joel Edgerton sneaks in, with the Best Picture.
We were just talking about this with Sean Penn. How much do they care if you've already won?
But I think because this whole season was Timmy's going to win, we're going to anoint the future. I do think there's something in the water that the idea that we can still do that, but with Michael B. Jordan, I think that is a narrative worth exploring rather than just giving it to Leo. I also think, like, when you just look at this season, like, are we really going to give it to, 3 veterans? That just seems a little like, and then Jesse Buckley, spoilers.
Yeah, well, they know.
I feel like you look at last year, Kieran Culkin, Mikey Madison, and then, we had Adrian Brody and help me. Zoe. So you had, half and half. Newcomers.
I would say 3/4. Kieran Culkin is not a newcomer. He's been in the
It was his first nomination.
Plus, I know,
this is his first nomination.
Not,
Michael B. Jordan has been. I mean, he did The Wire 20 years ago. So I mean,
I know, but I think Michael B. Jordan is looked at as a younger, like kind of up and coming star, whereas Kieran Culkin is, I think, kind of,
which is ridiculous because I mean, Michael B. Jordan, in theory, should have been nominated for Fruitvale Station. He should have maybe won for Black Panther. I mean, this is like the idea. That's the other thing is I feel like people feel like this is an opportunity. I think similarly to when they did award Viola Davis, which is that this is one of our great actors who deserves to
totally different levels. Viola Davis and Michael B. Jordan.
I think you just saw the love,
respect
in that room
as an
when
actor.
he won.
I'm not saying there isn't respect for him, but Viola Davis is like one of the top 3 working actors out there. I think there are lots of people who
what roles would you give
plays
her that?
the same
Fences,
character every film.
I would give you Fences. What roles would you say Viola Davis gets that? Because think about it, Viola Davis wins for Fences. I believe while How to Get Away with Murder was still on the air, like the idea that she is this generation's Meryl Streep, which I think you can make the argument of, happens because we give her that Oscar and we legitimize that she is one of the greats of all times. And then now she's able to do all these wonderful roles. I just think that people feel that Michael B. Jordan, he has been a wonderful actor, a kind person. People love him. And this will give him a chance to actually be where he should have been maybe 10 years ago. Compared to Leonardo DiCaprio, who's still going to be making the same movies, whether he wins this Oscar or not. I just don't think the Oscar matters that much to Leo. And I think it will matter an incredible amount to Michael B. Jordan. And we've made that argument with Cate Blanchett and Michelle Yeoh. It's the same situation.
But, well, then again, we fall back into who is in the Best Picture winner.
That's, which we have made.
For why Michelle Yeoh won.
Best Picture, I swear to Christ, we do not need to spend any time on it. We already know what we're going for.
Well, yeah, people know, but we still have to talk.
Can we say Jesse Buckley and get to picture?
Are we done with Best Actor?
Yes, because the rest of our argument depends on another category.
Yeah,
apparently.
We're not going to convince each other of anything. I don't know.
Jack, it is 1:15 in the morning.
Okay, yes. Let's
Jesse Buckley.
Best Actress. Who would you vote for? I'd vote for Timmy or Wagner.
I would vote for Michael B. Jordan.
Best Actress. Our nominees are Jessie Buckley, Rose Byrne, Kate Hudson, Renata Reinsve, Emma Stone.
Jessie Buckley's winning. I would vote for Rose Byrne, though I'm very happy Jessie Buckley's winning. She's one of the great talents of this generation. Yes. Oh God, that's what I was seeing last night. Yes, it's Hamnet has done very well this season. This is the place to award it. Director, let's go.
He's black. Yeah, there's not anything to be said. Congratulations, Jessie Buckley, on your Oscar.
Woo, woo, woo. I look forward to a great speech.
Me too. Directing, our nominees are Chloe Zhao, Josh Safdie, Paul Thomas Anderson, Joachim Trier, and Ryan Coogler. Once again, I think this is easy. He swept the entire season. Paul Thomas Anderson, some people might think it will be a picture-director split. But I do think, regardless, I think most people, even if they're predicting Sinners to win Best Picture, still think Paul Thomas Anderson will win Director.
I think it's closer than you're letting on with Coogler, who I would pick.
He hasn't won anything.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's going to win. I don't think it's
close.
I think you think it's 90-10, like 90%.
I would say 80-20.
Okay. I think it's closer. But I still think Paul Thomas Anderson wins this. It's just because I do think we are going to have a split, and this is going to be where we honor PTA as well as Screenplay. And also because it is, I mean, these are the top two, and I do think we're going to split to honor them both. Yeah, so.
You would vote for Coogler?
Yes.
Okay. I would vote PTA probably. Last but not least.
Really? I feel like you'd go Joachim Trier. I'm surprised.
I know, but I feel like the directing, what I'm most impressed about in Cinema Value is the acting, and I know directing is a big part of that, but I do think One Battle is a huge directing achievement. Mm-hmm. Best Picture. Our nominees are Begonia, F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, Cinema Value, Sinners, and Train Dreams. And here is what we've been hinting towards.
Surprise!
Anthony's predicting Sinners. I'm predicting One Battle After Another. My question to you is, the argument for Sinners, I feel like, is completely vibes. I feel like when you go back,
no, not completely.
Well, vibes. let me finish. When we go back to like September, this entire award season, we have been thinking Sinners, regardless of the Best Picture race, will win SAG Ensemble. What else has it? Everything else, One Battle has won. I just don't understand why Sinners winning SAG Ensemble suddenly, which is a thing that we all kind of expected throughout most of the season, it now means it will win Best Picture.
Well, we did. I'm getting dizzy. We did. I don't know if that was conventional wisdom. I think a lot of people
in the odds it
One
was.
Battle
Ever since it opened, Sinners was number one.
Yeah. Which is crazy that Coogler has. It would be crazy for a Coogler film to win ensemble twice at SAG and then not carry over the picture. Here's my thinking. Correct me if I'm wrong. It is 1:30 in the morning, so if I get this stat wrong, please somebody correct me. I do believe with WGA and SAG ensemble, the stuff that Sinners has won with, even that, I know it's going up against the package that One Battle After Another has, but even with the package Sinners has, no movie has lost Best Picture.
Well, that's where, yes, that is true.
So
that's where we run into the problem where we have two juggernauts. Yeah. They're too strong. We haven't had the top two films in Best Picture ever be this strong. But still, even like you look at like the Academy gets more international every single year. You look at international stuff, the BAFTA Award, the César Awards. It's crazy. One Battle won at the César Awards. I just think One Battle, it has the much more impressive precursor package.
And this is where we go into preferential. Now, PGA is voted preferential as well. So you could say, well,
that's my other question. Why did it? Sinners made a ton of money. It made it. You look at other upsets like a Parasite, like a Moonlight. There's no reason like those should have won PGA. Why did Sinners lose PGA, a huge money-making film, to a film that lost money in One Battle After Another on the preferential ballot?
Yeah, I can't answer every individual question because this is a very hard thing to gauge. I don't think you ignore the fact that there has been a shift in the last 3 weeks, right when they needed it to happen for Sinners. I'm not saying it will go all the way. I do think there's a world where One Battle just wins, and this is like Penelope Cruz and Parallel Mothers, where everyone's like it's going to happen, and then it doesn't happen. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but you do acknowledge.
I just want to know why Sinners.
Because it's the most nominated.
What
movie.
Changed? Well, nominations don't mean wins. We know.
Well,
that.
Again, I think what changed is that you had within the span of a week, you had a front page news story of how this movie was disrespected. I don't think
that changes. I don't think that makes people suddenly, if they had their favorite film of the year, be like, now I think I'm
just look at the Alpha to Omega
of the year.
From Sunday to Sunday, we went from that story to the entire room at SAG erupting with applause over Sinners. I just think there was a groundswell of I'm so happy this movie's getting awarded. And the crew at One Battle has not been campaigning. PTA is not campaigning. Leo didn't show up to actors. Sean Penn hasn't been showing up. I just think that people want to share in the love of Sinners more. Sinners also, this is the best place it's performed. So the idea that it would overperform here makes sense. It overperformed here for nominations. It has 16 nominations. All the crafts are going to be behind it. And you could argue just like One Battle. But I also think that out of the two, if we go back to La La Land versus Moonlight, the reason why La La Land lost is because La La Land was I want you to tell me that I'm wrong with this.
Okay.
After the sermon you gave us over Best Actor.
Actor.
Tell me how I'm wrong. La La Land lost because there were a lot of people, even people who maybe liked it, who would have on a personal ballot ranked it higher. They did not want it to win Best Picture, and they put it in 9th. It was polarizing. There were people who did not like it. Because I do think it is the more divisive of the two. I think there are more people who have it.
Look at the cinema score. Look at the Rotten Tomatoes score. Look at the Metacritic score. It's not more divisive. That's an online Twitter thing. It's not within the industry. It is not divisive within the industry. You can't, on a preferential ballot, which is built off of being liked, One Battle won. Sinners did not win.
Do you think One Battle is like a number 2, number 3 movie?
Yes, I don't think anyone's going to rank it in their bottom 5. I think people might rank Sinners in their bottom 5. I do think both of them will end up probably in most people's top 5, but I think One Battle has a stronger bet of being in a top 3 than Sinners does.
I mean, it's really tough.
Reception all around, critics, audiences.
Did it really?
I'm pretty sure. Sinners had a good cinema score.
Make your argument for One Battle as I do the research. By the way,
Well,
Sinners made more money in the United Kingdom than Weapons by $6 million. By the way, to go back to that.
Okay. That was a while ago. Thank you. No, I'm sure the audience appreciates that.
You're welcome.
I just think when we look at the upsets and comparisons, like in 1917, like a La La Land, the films that were considered the frontrunners, there were one precursor package-wise, neither of those films were nearly as strong as One Battle. La La Land didn't even get a SAG Ensemble nomination. It didn't win WGA. One Battle has won absolutely every single thing it could have besides SAG Ensemble, which we expected it to lose for the majority of the season. I think One Battle is an extremely strong frontrunner that does not have the same cracks in it like those two films had. So I don't see a reason.
But do you think there's a world where, because of the season being longer, I mean, that is a component here, that it had to stay in its number one position this long? Because this is the thing. Oppenheimer didn't have a Sinners. What was it? Poor Things? Like that is the thing, is that this, I do think there is a possibility that, like a lot of times, the front runner just, it just doesn't make it across the finish line. It can't sustain being front runner that long. Because people, it's just in the nature of awards that people, they give it so many awards, and people are like, well, it can't win everything. That would indicate.
I don't think people switch up their ranking.
That was La La Land, Moonlight.
On...
That was 1917 Parasite.
Yeah, but
that's what this is.
One Battle, they had reasons to rank those films lower than. Why would they suddenly switch up on One Battle? They wouldn't. There's no reason for them to do it.
Well, I think what I'm also interested in is, like, if there were so many people going into like the Roma Green Book year, and I'm not comparing the movie's qualities. I'm just everybody was so sure Roma was happening until it wasn't. And then they were like, and then the think pieces came out. So the idea that, like, the movie that everybody loves critically and, has done, pretty good with all the precursors, then doesn't make it over the final hump is not ridiculous to think, especially because
but Roma was extremely weak compared to One Battle precursor-wise. One Battle has won every single thing it could besides SAG Ensemble. Every single thing. You can't say that about Roma. Roma was an artsy black and white international film. It's not comparable.
I know, but I'm saying that the idea that a movie goes, like, we don't see it losing and then it loses is not ridiculous. Like, we've seen it happen recently.
We've seen it happen. We've never seen it happen to a film as strong as One Battle. It's never happened.
But we've never seen movies can we just say that we've never seen movies as strong as either of these in Best Picture, period. I really don't.
No, I know. Yeah.
Like, that's the thing, is like one battle after another would win any other year. Maybe up against Oppenheimer, maybe not. But because that was Christopher Nolan finally catching up. I mean, they're essentially the same movie in some regards. They're both were catching up with this filmmaker. So, by the way, Sinners has the higher Rotten Tomatoes score. One Battle has the higher Metacritic score. So,
okay,
again, pretty even as always. It's very hard. They're very close. I just think ultimately they both have winning packages. I know that you can argue that One Battle has the better winning package, but they ultimately both have winning
director
packages.
And screenplay. What was the last film that won director and screenplay and lost Best Picture and an acting prize?
It is 2:00 in the morning. Don't ask me for
I know,
these
but
stats.
I'm just saying, if you're winning all of that, you're not losing Best Picture.
Yes, but you also have, but we've also, let's acknowledge, in the past, Argo on, we have been really playing fast and loose with things that you should have that you don't have. I mean, Argo, Coda, we keep doing crazy things as far as...
Yes, but none of those years had a front runner as strong as One Battle.
But we've never had a runner-up as strong as Sinners in your assessment.
I know, well, we keep saying that, yes. We keep saying that,
so,
but I
you can't ignore the other part of it.
But there's nothing happened that means One Battle suddenly falls down.
So what do you, in your assessment, now let's just do a recap. How many awards is One Battle winning?
Best Picture, Best Director, Actor, Supporting Actor, Adapted Screenplay, Cinematography, Editing.
That's 7? Okay.
7. Lately,
and I think I have 7
big
too.
sweepers.
This is so
Everything
funny.
Everywhere. Everything Everywhere and Oppenheimer also won 7 Oscars. I think that's kind of the highest you can go lately.
Yeah. What
usually you don't win more.
What got more? La La Land would have gotten 7 if it won Picture.
Yeah.
No, the movie's gotten more than 7 since.
I don't think so.
Okay, really? We can look that up
I can't
later.
think of it.
Listen, it's very close, and it's hard because I do think that there is no real reason that One Battle is faltering. It's
That's my
more,
question. Like, why
but
all of a
it's
sudden has Sinners
because it's
overtaken
not
when it
because
hasn't the entire season?
it's not what One Battle isn't. It's about what Sinners is, and I think that's the distinction. I just think there are more people rooting for this movie now when voting matters. The same way that it happened with Moonlight. If La La Land if people were voting on Best Picture, like let's say the calendar for that season was the calendar for the Parasite year, La La Land probably would have won Best Picture. There would not have been time for people to have the backlash. I also think it's telling that when Sinners becomes the highest nominated film of all time, what we didn't see is the Sinners is overrated conversation, which I think says a lot about that movie. That it was able to.
It speaks to you not being on Twitter, so that has been a conversation.
Listen, yes, but it's not to the point that SNL did not do a Sinners is overrated sketch the way they did it. La La Land is overrated sketch, or at least you didn't love La La Land interrogation. It was very funny. I remember it fondly, and I remember.
I just also think the SAG Awards, as we saw this year, continually each year as the Academy becomes more international, the SAG Awards are less, especially in a body of 160, 170,000 people. There's a lot less lineup between and crossover between that than there is like these other like BAFTA and other stuff like that. I think we need to take what SAG does going forward with a bit of a grain of salt, and Sinners makes sense to win at SAG.
And yet you have Amy Madigan winning.
Well, Amy Madigan, yeah, Amy. Well, we already talked supporting actress, but I do think Sinners once again it makes sense that Sinners would win SAG Ensemble. We predicted it the whole season. Nothing has changed for us to suddenly not predict One Battle if we expected One Battle has
listen. I think ultimately, and you can just let me know if you disagree with this, because I think this is a fair assessment for both of us. Both of these movies have a winning package. Both of them have momentum. Mm-hmm. Both of them have all of the things that you would possibly need to support giving them a reason to win. And I think you could at least understand why a lot of people, setting them aside from each other.
The PGA? That's my thing. Why didn't it win the PGA? You can say with stuff like Moonlight and Parasite, there's an obvious reason for foreign language film, small indie film. Why did Sinners?
Let's now have this conversation.
Was a huge story for it. Lose.
Well, no, let's have the conversation, because the way that One Battle's box office was covered was very different than the way that Sinners' box office was covered. Sinners was looked at as if it had to make this certain amount of money or it was going to be a failure. And I think a lot of people
everyone knew it was a huge hit.
I think do not underestimate that there is a little bit of a silent element to Sinners' box office performance. We saw this. We saw that the movie was doing these incredible things, and they were still saying, "But is it a hit?" One Battle was never looked at.
You can't say every. Variety. It was not everyone. It was one.
It was a conversation
that blew up about.
And I also think that there is a conversation to be had about the deal that Coogler did that I think producers were very aware of. And I don't know whether they wanted to support it. I also think, again, we can't deny the season where we are now with Sinners is not where we were a month ago with Sinners. The mood shifted the same way that One Battle.
The PGA is the most accurate precursor when it comes to Best Picture. It's extremely accurate because it's the exact same voting system, and One Battle won.
I agree. That's
Sinners
why I'm not going to be surprised.
Style film. I just want to know why Sinners then.
Why? Because again,
vibes. I feel like the only argument is really vibes.
It has the momentum. It won the most recent precursor. It has all the things that it has. It has a package that makes sense when it comes to the awards that it could likely win. Screenplay, text, actor. That makes sense, especially because, let's be honest. Can we make this assessment? Do you think if Paul Thomas Anderson had won before, is Coogler more competitive in director?
I don't know, honestly. Maybe. Maybe not.
I think that's worth it.
Picture would win director. That's how I feel.
Because I do think that it's a unique year in so many.
We don't live in that reality, so it's not really worth discussing.
But it is worth discussing because it's a question of, is director being motivated by love of one battle after another, which certainly is part, or is it being motivated primarily because we need to catch up with PTA? That there is a question of
the films.
Clearly, but I do think that Coogler would not be you considered it 80-20. I think you would acknowledge it would be closer if this would have been Coogler's first and PTA's second best director prize. I just ultimately
that's semantics. I feel like
this is all semantics.
This whole
2 hours of semantics.
This is PTA's award season moment. It's last second, not going to switch up.
Listen, I could not go to sleep the night that La La Land lost. I know what it's like to be
We
one
can't
battle
keep going
after
back to
another.
La La Land, though.
We
Moonlight, La
can't.
La Land
I'm
is totally
still
different.
triggered.
There's no comparison there. Sinners is not Moonlight. There's no comparison between the two, and One Battle is extremely much more stronger than La La Land was. There's no La La Land had controversy, it had cracks in it, it had reasons for people to rank it lower. That's not happening with One
You
Battle.
think that, but you think that there are more people now? I feel like, because I'm not on Twitter, but I mean, I feel like I know that people have had issues with the politics of one battle after another. I mean, people just didn't like La La Land because it was overhyped for them. People actually do have legitimate issues with the content of One Battle After Another's themes.
Clearly not the industry, because it's won every single damn thing it could.
I grant you, but again, the only thing that people I think can take that they have against Sinners is it's a vampire movie. It's just the genre stuff, but that has not been an issue as of late. I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once shut that door firmly, that they would not.
I'd say that's a
genre
bigger
movie.
issue than anything going against One Battle.
Again, I think the point. Listen, we're not going to convince each other.
No, we're not. But maybe we'll convince
I'm
people.
kind of glad we did this, because I do think this is the discussion, and I'm glad that we're representing it. I think ultimately both films have a package that can win.
Both films make sense.
Both films make sense, and I think what you're leaning on is the performance that One Battle has had thus far, and I am leaning on that. I think at the right time the momentum shifted and they won the most recent precursor, and that will carry them over the finish line. It's just a question of when do you think it locked in? And if you think people were still deciding when SAG was voting, then go Sinners. If you think that it was already sewn up and that the only thing that SAG maybe made people, I have something in my eye, the only thing that SAG made people question was Michael B. Jordan as an alternative to Timothée Chalamet, then go that way. If I had gone Parasite, it would have had a nearly perfect ballot. So I feel the same thing that happened that season. It's the movie that at every award show people wanted to do more, and then guess what? It does more at the final one. I'm going to go Sinners.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument for it. I just feel like nothing has happened lately for One Battle to lose. I mean, it won every single damn precursor. It's the strongest frontrunner besides like Oppenheimer we've had in so long, and it's PTA's big Oscar moment. We've been building up. I mean, ever since September. I mean,
that's the thing, but he will win, and he will win too, and it will win maybe. But I mean, play it out. I do think there's a world where it wins director, adapted screenplay, and give it cinematography. That there is a world where that could be it. I mean,
and not pen, not editing.
Well, we've argued that there could be others in those categories. I'm just saying, like, there is a world where it could only win 3. I think there is no world where
not for a film this strong. Not for
there's
a world where Sinners just wins 3.
We've made the argument that it
Score,
there are other
casting,
people.
And what else? Screenplay. That's easy. What else would it win?
Well, I think
there's a much easier world where Sinners wins 3 than One Battle wins 3. I think you have to agree with that. One Battle is locked in more categories than Sinners is.
I mean, I think again, you're going out with this BAFTA mystery number 2 ballot.
Well, I'm not considering that a lock. I think cinematography, adapted, Sean Penn, what else? Editing. I think all of those are much safer than what Sinners has.
Tough. It's a really close race. And yes, you are right that I think there is a lot of vibes with Sinners.
I think that's the argument for Sinners, which is, I mean, vibes are a valid argument. I just don't think the PJ is what I keep going back to. There's no reason Sinners should have lost the PJ. And even if people like in the last week or so have been feeling the Sinners vibes and enthusiasm, I don't think someone who had One Battle as their favorite film of the year is suddenly gonna like be like, no, I'm not gonna rank One Battle high. I just don't think like if you were an Oscar member and you had One Battle over Sinners, would you suddenly, just because of the vibes and the enthusiasm around the film, suddenly change how you felt about the films themselves?
It's not the thinking. It's just, I don't think that like we have this locked and loaded, but for the average person, they're probably this whole season were like, I like both of them, and they're not going to make a decision. And then they make the decision when the ballot's in front of them. I just think that that's how people vote. I don't think people feel like in January, I'm voting for One Battle after another, and they're going to be consistent. I think they like both movies, and It's because think about if Wumi Masako had won for SAG, you would be predicting probably her for the Oscar because that was the conversation happening at the time. So I do think that it's just worth considering.
SAG?
Why? Because I don't know. They like horror movies. They gave Quiet Place. They gave Emily Blunt Best Supporting Actress. They like their horror
Wumi's in a horror film too.
Yeah, but she's not the horrific element. The way that Emily Blunt's walking on nails. We've really digressed here.
We have. Is there anything else to be said?
I mean, no. I don't think so.
I think we've covered it all. I keep coming back to one, the Precursor Hall, and the
here's the one thing I want to mention. What movie do you think Warner Brothers gave them both an even campaign? And if not, do you think they campaigned for one more than the other? That's the one other ripple with this.
I think they gave them pretty even campaigning. I just think the people on the Sinners team are much more eager to campaign than the people on the One Battle team. Leo's not eager. Sean Penn's not eager. PTA has never been the type to do a bunch of.
Tiana Taylor has had to
She's been carrying it. Yeah, Tiana Taylor, Regina Hall pops up, Benicio, Chase Infinity. But I think they probably had similar resources. But I do think the Sinners team is just more eager to campaign out there.
Because I mean, getting in front of people, especially when the movies are this beloved, that could make all the difference.
In front of 11,000 people.
You can get in front of enough, especially when you're beloved like this.
I also do think the international factor does not help Sinners at all. The fact that One Battle, it's rare for a film like One Battle to win at like the César Awards. Internationally, One Battle is clearly the favorite of the two. And the Academy has only gotten more international.
Yes. Sinners is definitely a more American picture. And you could argue that is a detriment. You could argue it's a plus. Again, I mean, that's the thing is that these movies are so good that you could basically take their cons and argue them as pros, their pros, argue them as cons. There's going to be a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking. Is that the term?
Yes.
For whatever, thank you. I do sports.
Sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
close.
we've I'm happy that it wasn't both of us just predicting One Battle and then there was no discussion to be had. Because I think
also we're down to 3 categories that we disagree on.
Oh yeah.
We had 6.
Madigan,
but I
cinematography,
changed, and
we disagree on actor, picture, animated short, if that counts, and editing.
It counts. Yeah. Okay, so we disagree on 4.
Everything else. If you do any last minute switches, who knows? You might switch back to to Leo. No, that's not gonna happen. We've done it. Predicted all 24 this year categories at the Oscars. And we had some fun discussions about it. What are you guys predicting? Who are you? Whose side are you on in the picture race? Are you compelled at all by my Leo argument? Who are you doing in supporting actress? All that stuff. Any final thoughts at the end of this gamut, Anthony?
I'm melting. This has been, I swear to Christ, the fact that this season started with the Wicked and
oh yeah.
Remember when Julia Roberts was in contention? I'm crashing out, man. It's almost 2:00.
That's the end of this award season, pretty much, until we get our winners.
Oh God!
And
watch our award show
our
with
awards.
Thomas and Trevor.
Yes.
It's not up yet. Tune in live. We'll be excited. I'm sure we'll be talking more about these 2 godforsaken movies.
You should like this video. You should definitely like this video after all of this. If you don't, it's a little disrespectful. If you made it to this point and you don't like the video, look, even the thumb agrees with me. You have to like it at this point. Or dislike it. That's engagement as well.
If you've made it this far into the video, check yourself into the most nearest hospital.
If you've made it to this point in the video, comment an eggplant emoji, and then we'll know.
We need to end this.
Then we know you made it to the end. So thank you. Like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for our reaction and discussion of what does happen at the Oscars. If Sinners wins, Anthony will have a lot of told you so.
Like this.
If Leo wins, I will have a lot of I told you so's. I placed some money on it. You know, I'm going with it. So that's this award season. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.
End this show. Goodbye.